Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Trickster. Interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, we get a lot of, well, not a lot, but at least some of the answers I brought up during my last review. Well, for one, we get the answer that Wade is in fact Jarrett's biological dad, and obviously his mom is in fact his mom, but Phil isn't his dad. And it's because I should have figured as much that Wade was the one he was talking about, because last episode Phil was like, oh man, like I haven't heard from Buddy in so long, he's back in town. I should have figured it was Wade, but it didn't correlate in my head. For them to actually have known each other back then was kind of interesting. But obviously Wade's doing everything he can. You know, it's like at first he's like, oh yeah, you look a lot like your mom. He's like, but you look nothing like your dad. You've got my eyes. Jared's like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, like I just said, you got my eyes. Ask your mom. And it's like, wow, way to drop that on him after 17 years of not really being in his life. Granted, it seems like that wasn't your choice, but still. And so Jared never really gets an opportunity to ask his mom, because his mom kind of seems like she's crazy. And I think he asked his friend last episode. He might have asked it this episode, wondering whether or not crazy is hereditary, which obviously crazy isn't like the appropriate term, but you know, obviously for him, he's like his mom screaming and yelling at people that aren't there, but it's like maybe they are there. It makes you wonder, like maybe her thing that's like the dead or something, like maybe she can see and hear ghosts. So maybe that's kind of because obviously different people handle it. Like a great example would be Klaus from Umbrella Academy. We see how he handled the whole ghost situation, being able to talk to ghosts and everything, and just how much that messed him up. So maybe Jarrett's mom's along, you know, Maggie's along that same vein or similar, or maybe it is just kind of like, well, because Wade talks about it later on. He was like, basically your mom kind of got it from your grandma, and it's like he never knew that was a thing. So now it makes him even more worried, like if it went from his grandma to his mom, then maybe it's going to go to his mom from him, like, you know, because now he's already in the process of thinking, hey, I might be losing my damn mind because of all the weird stuff I've been seeing lately. And even Wade being like, oh, you've been seeing some weird stuff? He's like, if you ever feel like you can talk to me, because Wade knows, like, whatever, if he's seeing and hearing stuff, that means he's coming into whatever his powers are. And it's like, come to me, I'll kind of explain everything to you. There's certain things in this episode that makes me think that his dad, Phil, knows the truth about it. Because, like, the moment, like, Jarrett's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to hang out with Wade. Like, oh, going ride on his bike. You can see this look on his face. Like, either he kind of knows and he just doesn't want to admit it, or is it just kind of like, oh, yeah, like, my boy doesn't want to hang out with me anymore. Because I'm sure, like, his current circumstances probably makes him feel kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm not the best dad. But even later on, he tries to make Wade go, like, realize, like, hey, man, he make Jarrett realize, like, you know, I might be not as cool as Wade, but I'm here for you. You know, you're my son. Don't think I didn't do anything, never did anything for you. Hooking him up with that motorized, I don't know what the proper name for that would be. I don't think it's a scooter. I don't know what you'd call that vehicle, but hook him up with one of those, and it was just like, and Jared just being like, yeah, thanks, Dad, yeah, because this is a bike. But it's like, yeah, he basically, his social worker hooked him up with it. He's like, yeah, you know, I don't really need it, but don't let my social worker find out about it, because it's like the plan to get money didn't come through. So it's even sadder too, because Jarrett's like, you will do a great job at being a dad, and his dad's almost looking at him like, wait, what? He's like, you know, with the baby, and it's like, oh, kind of have to add that, because, you know, it's like, you know, because despite everything, it's like he has been your dad for the past 17 years, so he's the only dad you've ever known, but now this new guy's coming into your life claiming to be your dad, knowing stuff that only he would know, because he ended up finding a spot that Maggie, it's like, oh yeah, that tree with the symbol in it, well, the face drawn in it, because Maggie says that's where their people would mark those places to know where they marked their territory, and she doesn't know where it is exactly. That could easily have been a lie. She probably knew exactly where it was, but she'd rather not go back there because it brings up too many bad memories. But Wade ended up showing Jarrett exactly where it was, kind of solidifying, like, yeah, I am your dad, whether you kind of really fully believe it or not. But despite bringing it up to his mom, she just kind of says, like, stay away from Wade, and eventually, you know, tracks him down, and it's like, stay away from my son or I will kill you. What was interesting for me for that conversation was her being like, what are you? So I was like, okay, so whatever her situation is, whatever she was able to do to him is unrelated to what he is. Even she was confused at what the hell he is. She's like, I thought I killed you. And it kind of jumps over that, and she's like, this time I'll kind of kill you for sure if you don't stay away. Which now, with everything that goes down in the episode, because obviously at the end of the episode, her taking his hair, essentially casting a spell, I'm starting to think like, oh, so whatever it was she did was kind of maybe like it's not the same thing as whatever his deal is. It seems like it might be like she was kind of, probably like it's something kind of passed down amongst her people, kind of like incantations and stuff like that. But it's like some kind of like essentially magic. So I thought was interesting. Like, I don't know whether so I'm assuming maybe I get that kind of confuses me because it's like maybe they kind of have their own supernatural thing, but it's separate from like her magic. Maybe that kind of stems from her family. Maybe that has something to do with why they're crazy. Like I said, I think maybe they can see ghosts or something, and it's kind of like a family trait. I don't know, because Jarrett's not necessarily seeing ghosts. He is seeing other stuff, especially like the Sarah stuff is weird. Because like, first time he saw her, when they saw face to face, like he saw like that glow about her, and it's like, what's that about? Like, and then later on when they're in her car and they kiss, and all of a sudden he sees the fireflies like flying around, and he's like, do you see it? She's like, see what? And it's like, okay. So it turns out Sarah might just be a regular person. It doesn't seem like she might, but it's like something about her. Maybe it's just because Jarrett's kind of into her. Maybe it's like, maybe that's what that's manifesting. Maybe it's kind of like these are signs that mean something. You just kind of have to figure out what the signs mean. Maybe that's supposed to, or maybe it's just something about her personally. Maybe it's not saying like she's something supernatural, but more so like this is something about who she is and her connection to you or how you feel about her. Maybe that's what that's... Because like I said, the first time it seemed like she was radiating like this light, and then all of a sudden the fireflies, like I'm not 100% sure what to make of. I'm also curious, is Maggie somewhat still into Wade? Because the moment he shows up with the pool, his own pool cube and everything, and he's doing his thing, it's like at first she's looking disgusted, but then she's almost kind of like, oh, almost like, Wade, you can still get it. But I think that was quickly taken over by the fact is, I don't know why you're here for. What did I tell you? Stay away. Ripped out his hair, obviously for like the spell later on. I also love I was about to call him Archie. Richie is like, who the hell is that guy? I still love that whole Richie situation. Obviously the issues that's caused at home because, obviously he didn't know what he was signing up for when he finds out about everything with Maggie and like locking herself in a room, yelling at people that aren't there. Obviously it's like every day. Well, it's every so often for Jarrett. So he was pretty much asking Richie to hit him. So it's like, hey, you hit me that way. My mom could end up kicking you out. He's like, go ahead, you want to, but didn't work out like Jarrett was kind of hoping. We did find out he ended up paying his buddy back for the money. It's just like, nah, like you had my back on that, so that was pretty dope. Things do seem a bit rocky between Jared and Sarah now, just because, she's against the pipeline because the government's kind of making it a thing, like throughout the lands that they can put the pipeline through, which she's kind of against and trying to fight against. But Jared's like, yeah, but the town kind of wants that. And she's like, are you pro pipeline? He's like, no, but I'm just talking from a different perspective because there's a lot of people in town who are counting on that for jobs and, and opportunities. So it's a complicated situation with that. There's the kind of the good and evil that comes along with it, I think, is kind of what that's representing. So, like I said, continuing to be like a background thing, but like I said, whether it becomes more or not, we'll continue to have to watch. But other than that, we got that whole scene with Wade and what I'm assuming are other people like him. But it seems like their circumstances seem different because apparently, like, instead of like, it seems like they're skinwalkers, like the from like like the skinwalkers from Supernatural, where they basically wear people's skins. That's what it seems like. Well, they more so. Well, these people actually literally kill you and take your skin and wear it like a suit. Skinwalkers from Supernatural just basically, no, not skinwalkers, shapeshifters. They're like shapeshifters. Oh, what are they called, skinwalkers? No, because skinwalkers are another name for werewolves, aren't they? They're shifters. Yeah, shifters in Supernatural. I'm already blanking. I think they're shifters, right? They're not skinwalkers. I guess in this maybe they're referred to as skinwalkers. What? I'm blanking on it. Like something else referred to people who could do that as skinwalkers. Was it Supernatural? I swear there was another show that talked about people who can do that as skinwalkers. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Haven, the bolt gun killer. Uh, Without spoiling it for anyone that hasn't seen Haven, which I highly recommend you see Haven, there's kind of a serial killer in season 3 that basically does the same thing, wears people's skin. So I think that's where I'm getting Skinwalker from, but obviously there's shifters in Supernatural. Once again, correcting that in my head now. I do apologize. But his situation is different because, like, obviously, like, he quote unquote died before, and he's still kind of wearing the same skin. So that's what kind of confuses me because I'm like, because they talked about like, oh, they find new skins until it's time to pass. I'm like, what is? I wasn't fully sure, like, understanding what they meant. Because it also, like, some of them have, like, skins and burns. So I don't know whether it's, like, that's, like, damage from when they took the skin and didn't properly take care of it. So, like, when they put the suit on, it's a little damaged. I don't know if that's what that is. Or maybe it's just... Because the way he was saying, like, oh, you won't have long. So I guess they burn through the skins they wear. So I'm wondering, if Wade, or as they call him, what's it, like, Widget, like, what his circumstances. Like, we know he can shapeshift, even wearing the skin, but maybe it's like a thing of you can't shapeshift for too long. I mean, does that mean he's constantly, like, is he in a new skin? Did he take someone else's skin and then make it look like Wade? Because at first I was wondering, could it be that they possess people's bodies? At first, the way they were talking, I was like, oh, do you guys like hijack, like, do you possess people's bodies like the demons from Supernatural? But it's like, no, you wear people's skin. And that, like I said, it just brings up so many questions about Wade. Was he always what he is, or was he just a regular dude at some point in time, but then someone hijacked his skin? And is it a thing of when you hijack someone's skin, you have all their memories or something, like, hence why Wade, or maybe he just kind of slipped into the role and pretended to know, what he knew until, like, people around him kind of filled him in on stuff he didn't know. I don't know what to 100% make of that. Which that's going to be my phrase of it, because I've said that like 50 million times already, probably in that previous recording and this recording. In totality, I've probably said it like 50 million times. I'm probably going to continue to say that a lot because I honestly don't know what to make of anything, Especially because Wade doesn't want them to know that Jarrett's his son, because it's like, oh, who's that kid? It's like, yeah, my buddy Phil, that's his kid. It's like, because I guess if they knew... Maybe Wade was initially going to, like, oh, I'm going to have a son, and the reason why he was taking him to the tree, either because it's like, oh, we're going to be with our people, and I'm going to raise you and show you the ropes, or was he meant to, like, sacrifice his son, but now, after all this time, he decided not to, because he's supposed to be doing something. He's like, I'll get to it when the time is right, but he's like, but who knows when that will be, and I'm like I said, there's just way too many questions. And there's also that creepy thing Maggie did too, where like Jarrett was laying in bed sleeping. He kind of opens his eyes and his mom's just standing above him, drink in one hand and smoke in the other, being like, don't you ever leave me. I was like, oh, that wasn't creepy as hell. But also later on, when she was casting her spell, it's like, Richie was like, yeah, she left with a shotgun. So it's like, I guess she wanted to make doubly sure maybe she's going to try and use the spell to knock him down and hurt him, and then go over and pop him with a shotgun to make sure he stays dead because he didn't die last time. Still quite a lot of questions, but we'll have to wait and see where all this ultimately ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. Really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.